Hi, it's Rev Kev, your old school counselor. In a Substack I wrote yesterday, I questioned whether a sizable amount of persons in military leadership, and especially the civilian military leadership, might be suffering from a delusion. And what do we do about it? I find it to be a very alarming condition because these are folks that are responsible for sending other people off to die in a military conflict. And if they're delusional or mentally ill in some other way, that creates a very precarious or dangerous situation, obviously. So what would we do as civilians? How would American voters address something like this? Or what would other persons in leadership positions in the military or in government do in a situation like this? I don't think we have good answers for this question. It's something that I've wondered about for a long time. So I'm going to ask viewers to put some comments below if you have some suggestions for how we would handle the situation, because I think it is a very dangerous condition. Now I'm talking specifically about the sizable portion of our military leaders and even people in the civilian leadership that are Christian Zionists or revelationists, or believe in end times philosophies. Some of them apparently even believe that they can do the work of God to kind of usher in the end times more quickly so that Christ will return and presumably, rescue them or, send them to everlasting life. As you can tell, I'm not a believer in this philosophy. Even when I was a, practicing Christian, I still am a kind of a cultural Christian. But even when I was a practicing Christian, I didn't believe in this stuff. And I think there are a lot of Christians like me that don't. But apparently there are a lot of people that really do. And it concerns me because I think it means that a lot of people are kind of running around acting in leadership positions that believe strange things. So I guess I'm wondering, what do we do about this? And the larger issue for me has always been that as a society, we aren't doing enough to help people that are in public positions, especially in government, address mental health, their own mental health issues. We're seeing it a little bit in sports or entertainment where people are finally coming forward and saying, I have depression or I have anxiety or, bipolar disorder or something. And I've got to get help. I've tried to get help for it, and that's been really positive and really good. But political leaders, I really don't think we're doing a good job at all with that. And I think a sizable percentage of the people now are obviously mentally ill and operating either blindly or without help or trying not to be noticed or whatever. Our president, I believe, is a textbook case of narcissistic personality disorder, and yet he's just sort of doing what narcissists do, and half the country thinks it's perfectly fine, or they rationalize for him or justify that. Oh, that is changing now. I'm really starting to see some people talk about Trump's narcissism a little bit more. I also think there are a lot of people, obviously, that have all sorts of sexual issues, paraphilias, debauchery, degenerate sexual behavior, gender issues, all sorts of things, and apparently a lot of that is being used against these politicians for blackmail fodder. That's obviously a very serious crime. So I've been writing about it, and one of the things I suggested yesterday is that mental health professionals should be trying to intervene directly, and in some cases that might even mean intervening legally, reporting people that may be obviously operating from some mental health condition, or starting the duty to warn process that we in mental health call the Tarasoff process if we believe someone's mental health has them on the verge of committing a violent act or a self or self-violence. And so I think we're maybe even at that point where we have to look at draconian measures like that to do something. Finally, another factor that's concerned me a lot is I believe that there's research to suggest that people that took the COVID vaccine, that I believe and many others believe is a bioweapon, may have given themselves psychiatric disturbances. We know that this COVID jab, the spike protein, whatever, appears to impact people's brains, crosses the blood-brain barrier, and that a number of people are exhibiting psychiatric symptoms like bad reality testing and explosiveness, inability to manage themselves, depression, all sorts of things. I think that's also a big factor. So, in my opinion, we're just looking at a world with a lot of really mentally damaged people. And to be totally honest with you, I find it very depressing because I've been fighting my whole career to try to help people and to try to do something to address the depressogenic conditions in society. And I've just been feeling lately like, wow, I mean, we're just overwhelmed all of a sudden with a epidemic of just mentally ill people, and a lot of these people are in positions of influence and authority. So it's a very scary situation. It makes me want to run to the hills with 10 other people that might be normal, reasonably normal like me, and start some sort of reasonably healthy or normal community. In fact, I think that a lot, actually. That's what I'd really like to do because I'm just so concerned with what is obviously an escalation of mental health all around me. If our key political leaders are diagnosable mentally ill, we've got a problem. It used to be that, people have always been narcissistic. There's always been, competitiveness and grandiosity among leaders. Of course, that's nothing new. But now, it just seems to me that, for the most part, people in authority were the healthiest people. That's kind of how they got there because they had the kind of wherewithal to be successful, to do right things, to delay gratification, to manage their impulses, to have empathy. So they usually got ahead. But it seems like now, I don't know, maybe there just aren't enough of those people left, or those people aren't getting ahead anymore. It's the other people that are getting ahead because we have such a depraved society that's maybe that's buttressed by intimidation and blackmail or whatever. So it just seems like the good people and the healthy people aren't getting ahead anymore. So it's extremely concerning. And when I really get down to the reality of it, it has me believing that maybe the United States of America can no longer survive, because I don't know how a country could survive if the preponderance of people in leadership positions in it are mentally ill, right? It just doesn't seem to make sense to me that a country like that could survive. So I'm thinking it probably is signifying the end of the United States of America, and something new is going to have to be born. So I think that a lot. So if you're out there and you're also thinking that we're seeing the end of the American country, certainly of the the empire, if you're seeing the Epstein revelations and really understanding as I am that that's just a sign of Sodom and Gomorrah, kind of appearing. We need to talk about what's going to come next, and let's put our heads together and decide how could we create something new that would be healthy and life sustaining. All right? Yeah, I guess that's a little bit depressing, but it's also a question. I'm looking for answers, looking for opportunities, looking for ways that we could talk about doing something different and better. Thanks for watching.